How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sip Talk. I'm, of course, am your host, Pete Sippis, and joining us today is a great friend of the show. He is back 15 episodes later, Alex Bauer, to review TV shows and movies. He's been on since then, but not for our in-depth TV/movie conversations. Alex Bauer, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great just because you're here. This is great.
Wow, that means a lot.
It's been a few months, 15 episodes since our first dive into TV and movies. You've been on with Trevor Hildenberger, pitcher for the Twins, talk about TV and movies, but this one-on-one that we had back in episode 4 is one of our most highly rated episodes, one of our most highly listened to episodes. It's an instant classic. When everyone says, hey, I'm starting your podcast, where should I start? I say the first episode was terrible, 2, 3 were okay, but like episode 4, Alex Bauer, there's something for everyone. TV and movies, go there. So to have you back is an absolute honor. But because you're back, you're still on the hot seat.
Uh-oh.
Because as you know, we have your tweets. Very, very controversial follow. You can follow him at AM Bauer. You can also check him out on medium.com/@AMBauer93. So we'll start off with your first controversial tweet. You wrote, "Happy birthday at Zendaya."
I didn't know that was controversial, but you got to throw that happy birthday love to some of your favorite people. She's Emmy nominated now. I was pushing that since last summer for Euphoria, so I was happy to see her get the Emmy. And I think those are September 20th, so that's coming up too. So you'll probably see some Zendaya Emmy-related tweets as well.
Did she reply?
No.
Has she ever replied?
No. But I don't know if you are going to. I did a shout out to another filmmaker, and he liked my tweet. So I don't know if you're going to shout that out, but we'll see.
No, I'm going to stick with the Zendaya, but yeah,
Okay.
You can be like James Harden, volume shooter.
I'll keep trying, and I'll make sure to break the news on this podcast when it happens.
Perfect. You can even share the podcast and do you can at Zendaya, because maybe she'll share it. I don't think it'll be good as ESPN's Charlie Kravitz or even Billy Gill from the Dan Le Batard Show sharing our podcast, which you can check out now. Last week's episode with Charlie Kravitz from Highly Questionable. Did you like that plug, Bauer? Nice little.
That was smooth.
That was very, very smooth.
Yeah.
Nope, not bumpy at all. Smooth as ice.
You're going to be a professional at this.
Oh, thank you. Episode 19, it just starts coming naturally. I have another controversial tweet.
Yes.
A little late to the game, but finally got around to see the first episode of #Lovecraft, and good God, enjoyed the hell out of it.
I did. The first episode, I didn't really know what to expect. It's based on a book, like a sci-fi horror kind of book. I didn't know what to expect, and it's all crazy, but all super well made and super entertaining. And then I think it's 4 episodes in, and the third episode was even better. Like the second episode was okay, but then the third episode is even better. So I'm excited to check out the 4th episode, and I think those premiere on Sundays. So tonight.
Yeah, I've had a few recommendations for that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to I would say I thought the pandemic would give me a lot of time to watch a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I've come to realize that there's just too much stuff. There's so much stuff on so many platforms. My watch list is absurdly long. My goal was during the pandemic to just start cranking out FX shows that I still want to watch. I love FX. I told you that I wanted to get to Justified. That was 15 episodes ago. I still haven't started Justified.
Life is low-key busy,
But it's funny because I don't know if because I'm afraid to dive into something so in depth, because shows I've started rewatching was I rewatched Brickleberry again, just
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, maybe because look, I love politics and I follow sports and politics and I watch the news all the time and all that. And I'm not one of those people where it's I don't want to watch any of it, I need to escape. No, I like watching, I like staying informed. But when it's 10:30 at night and you've been watching the news for 2 hours and everything's shit, it's I want to see Daniel Tosh as a talking bear causing a ruckus.
So I kind of had that same mentality where I started this summer Veep, and it's like funny, but I don't want to watch, you know, people making fun of politicians when you just get off watching the news and it's exactly the same thing. And so I think we want to try to do new stuff, but it's so crazy. The world's so crazy. We just go back to watching stuff that we know that we like, and brings that nostalgia feeling, I think.
So I have a good example of a nostalgia show, because the show that I'm watching right now at this very moment is Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh,
Just finished season 2. Now, I could not find that show anywhere on any streaming.
right.
And then I got CBS All Access
Hmm.
so I could watch Champions League Soccer. So I got the 1 month free trial. And I watched Champions League, and I'm like, I still have this. What do they have that I can't find anywhere else? And solid Nickelodeon playlist. I'm like, okay, all
Yeah.
this is on Hulu or Prime and or Netflix. And then I finally found Fairly Odd Parents, and I'm like, I gotta watch it. Like, I got a few weeks left on the trial. I gotta watch this. So I just finished the second season, and I just got an email today saying I got 7 days left on my trial. So we're gonna try to crank out seasons 3 and 4. I just gotta get to Channel Chasers. Once I get to the Channel Chasers special,
That's the
I'm
best one.
set,
Yeah, that's the best one.
because it kind of started dropping off a little. People say it started to drop off when that Cosmo had the baby. I said it's when it really started dropping off. There's a bit of a drop off a little bit season 5. Like, there's no episode in season 5 that I'm hankering for, but I'm just like looking through the episodes, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, good God, there's some classics.
Yeah.
And I might need to turn on my oven right now, because I got a pretty hot take I wanna cook up right now.
I love to
Um,
hear hot takes.
So I'll set the scene here for you. My
Okay.
Saturdays growing up,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, was Jimmy Neutron at 7, 2 episodes, Fairly Odd Parents at 8, or excuse me, 4 episodes. So there's 2 blocks.
Hmm.
Jimmy Neutron from 7 to 8, Fairly Odd Parents 8 to 9, SpongeBob 9 to 10. And then I think originally they did 2 hours of SpongeBob, or like a Nick Jr. thing at 10. Or I think I remember back at the Barnyard, that the spinoff for the movie Barnyard had that 10 o'clock slot.
Yep.
That's also on, I think it's also on Hulu, CBS All Access. I might dive into that, maybe, because that's kind of like my end of Nickelodeon, but I digress. So those are my big three: Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob. And like, SpongeBob is the peak, the king. Like, it's one of the greatest shows of all time. And I love
Absolutely.
SpongeBob. I quote it all the time. But as I've been rewatching Fairly Odd Parents, and
Uh-oh.
I'm not saying this because I'm just rewatching it now. I rewatched the first seasons of SpongeBob last year on Amazon Prime. So I watched all the way up to the SpongeBob movie, which around the same time as Channel Chasers, Fairly Odd Parents. So I have like a good cutoff. And as of right now, I would say Fairly Odd Parents is a better show than SpongeBob. There, I said it.
Wow. Wow. I want to ask you this. Are the best Fairly Odd Parents episodes better than the best SpongeBob episodes? Because here's my argument is SpongeBob is such a cultural phenomenon that we quote and we meme and we do all these things way more than Fairly Odd Parents. So
Yes.
as a cultural statement, SpongeBob is far and superior. But if we're talking episodes, like, uh, do you enjoy the best Fairly Odd Parents episodes more, or the best SpongeBob episodes more?
Ooh, that's tough, because maybe it's because SpongeBob is such a cultural phenomenon that I've like never had a huge like hankering for it, like Fairly Odd Parents.
Good point.
Because SpongeBob's so much easier to find, and
Yep.
even if you turn on Nickelodeon or Nicktoons at like 1 in the morning and you're high eating cereal, like, SpongeBob's going to be on instead of Fairly Odd Parents or something else. Um, I think the cultural phenomenon makes SpongeBob much more quotable. But if Fairly Odd Parents was just as big of a phenomenon, it would just be as quotable, because like Dan Norris, the guy who voices Cosmo, Timmy's dad, Jorgen von Strangle, is also the actor who plays Gordy in Ned's Declassified. Dan Norris is, for me, the king of Nickelodeon. And Butch Hartman's a genius. Like the lines for Cosmo, like I'm just laughing out loud. They're so funny.
Yeah.
And these episodes, I'm laughing out loud. But I'm not like yelling out the quotes like I would in SpongeBob. But I just think that they're just, for me, I just think they're better written. I think the writing is so much more, like they're both great writing, but the some of the Fairly Odd Parents is just a little more like clever, a little more that kind of hits home like a lesson rather than a SpongeBob episode. And I'm watching episodes of Fairly Odd Parents, and I'm thinking, how the hell did they come up with this shit? One example, I watched an episode last night, and Timmy had to write a history report. And just right off the bat, he's like, I need to do a history report on the founding fathers, and I don't know what to do. And immediately Cosmo's just like, what if you wish them over here, host a talk show and interview them? And Wanda's like, or you could study. And he's like, no, I'll do Cosmo's idea. And I'm like, how do the writers come up with this shit where there's like, yo, guys, what if Timmy's a talk show host and interviews the founding fathers? And then you have Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and Ben Franklin are just there. And you have Benedict Arnold trying to sabotage the Declaration of Independence. And he has the Declaration of Surrender pendants all drafted up. And he goes to John Hancock. He's like, sign this, Hancock. Write your signature nice and big. And Hancock's like, I like to sign my signature nice and big. And I'm just dying laughing. Like, who the hell writes this shit? Maybe because I'm from Boston. I love the founding fathers. I'm like, are they making John Hancock jokes?
I vaguely remember this episode. I have to go back and watch this. This sounds up my alley. But I'm with you in the same mindset. I've been on and off rewatching The Proud Family on Disney Plus, which was a cartoon early 2000s, and it's mind blowing the jokes that we miss as kids that we get as adults. And the writers probably obviously knew that. They're like, we're writing for both kids and adults, but it's just crazy to think that we've grown up where we've watched the show both as kids and adults, and that we can enjoy it multifaceted, where it's nostalgia for us, but now we're getting the adult humor too. It's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to go back and watch cartoons.
All right, let's actually. No, I want to stay before I get to your next tweet. I still want to stay on this Nickelodeon train.
Yes.
So I don't know if you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender yet, or Legend of Korra yet.
I've tried, so that's my answer.
Ooh, this changes everything.
I have not watched Legend of Korra, although I've heard amazing things, as I've heard about Avatar. I watched the first season of Avatar, and it just didn't click. I don't know. I just felt like I just felt very uninterested in the story, and I don't know if that's just because I had never seen it growing up, so I don't really have any nostalgia for it. So I'm kind of watching it for the first time, and like the first 4 or 5 episodes are kind of cartoonish, whereas the last half of this first season is much more adult, deeper themed. And I think it was just a little too late. And I think there's just so many other things that I wanted to watch that I kind of just lost interest. So maybe that now it's on Netflix, maybe I'll go back and kind of give it a full go. But apparently you're a fan.
Yeah, so I'm planning on doing a full like Avatar and Korra, because I watched Korra for the first time last month or a few weeks ago, and I got it done. What I'm going to tell you is the first season of Avatar is the worst season because of those kind of childish episodes they had to put there. Because you have to remember that like it was still a kid show, and they still had to show like reruns and stuff. Like in the Avatar fan community, the big joke is the worst episode is The Great Divide, because it had nothing to do with the storyline. It was kind of like that Hatfield McCoy type story, and it's a terrible episode. And that's the big joke. And the thing is, everyone hates it because growing up, that would always be the one they'd put on repeat, because that would just be like a kid's episode you could throw on. But like the end of season 1, without spoiling anything, we'll spoil it on our Avatar special coming up hopefully soon. But I still get goosebumps when I watch those 2 episodes. That ending, I get goosebumps. I lose my shit. I cry a little bit. It is so good. And what I'm saying is, please give season 2 a try. Personally, season 2 is my favorite season. and it really doesn't have, there may be one or two episodes that might have a little childish theme, but like it's a really good season. We get introduced to his earthbending teacher. We get introduced to Zuko's sister Azula, who just adds a completely new dynamic. And also, season 2, you kind of get the start of Zuko's story arc, because even though the show is about Aang, Zuko does have the best story arc, and you really get a good feel for who he is as a person during season 2. There's even an episode called Zuko Alone, where you find out more about Zuko's childhood, and you start to gain a much better understanding for him, who he is as a person, and his story arc. And I guarantee you, by the time you get to the end of season 2, you'll say, I want to know what happens, because it's really good. So I highly recommend it.
I will give it another go for sure. I think it's just, I started it right when the quarantine started going really big into effect, and it's just, I don't know, I just got lost in other things I was trying to finish up and stuff. But I've literally, there's no one has said a bad word about either of the two of those shows. Like, it's like universally loved by everyone. So
Yeah, their YouTube page put out something the other day, and it was like, we want to do a mini series, like discussion debate series with Avatar fans. And so they sent an email, and it's like, email us why you think you'd be a good fit on this discussion, like your different perspectives. And I emailed them like, when I first saw it at like 1 a.m, send an email right away. Like, I'm such a procrastinator with my classes and sending emails and shit. I saw that, and I'm just like, get me on that now.
now the real hot take question:
Yes.
did you like M Night's movie?
No. I remember even seeing it as a kid. I was so excited for it, and I'm just like, this feels weird. I don't really like this. And then I haven't like watched the full movie as an adult, but I've watched like YouTube clips of it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's why everyone hates it, because this is abysmal.
I was low key waiting for you to be like, I kind of sneakily enjoy it, but no, no one likes
No, no, no. Oh my, that would be the hottest of all takes.
it. Yes.
Like, if I said that, like, I would burn down this apartment complex, because that take would be so hot. I don't think anyone's ever had that take, um, and for very good reason.
No, I agree.
All right, let's get on to another one of your tweets. The pilot of Dear White People hooked me unlike any show I've started in a long time. Can't wait to dive in.
I don't think I've ever watched a season of a show faster than I've watched the first season of Dear White People. It truly is awesome TV.
So I remember when the movie came out. I didn't
Yes.
see the movie, but I actually have a few songs from their soundtracks. I remember seeing their soundtrack on Spotify, and there's some really good songs on there. Um, and just for the audience, even me, because I honestly kind of forget what the movie's about. So if you can even just say like what the show's about, and I don't know if you've seen the movie or not, but if you have, does it differ from the movie?
I watched the movie once when it came out, and I don't really remember it just because juxtaposed to recently watching the TV show, it's kind of hard to remember what was in the movie and what's in the TV show. But basically, it just follows a group of African American students at like an Ivy League school. I think it's made up. I don't think it's like supposed to be like Harvard or anything like that. And they're going through this. I think the first season was 2017, and I mean they're talking about the same things we're talking about now in terms of police shootings, police brutality, racism. The first episode kind of deals with a fraternity having a blackface party and kind of the repercussions of that. And what I really like about the show is that each episode kind of follows a different point of view character, and each character sort of has a different take on what's kind of going on in the country and what's on campus, and kind of has a different definition of what it means to be Black in the United States, and what they're kind of doing about it in terms of the social justice reform and all that stuff. And it's just really well acted, really well written. I feel like these are characters that are living, breathing people, not just characters that I'm watching on a show. And the music's fantastic. And the fifth episode, spoiler alert, deals with one of the characters. A cop pulls up a gun on one of the characters, and it's just really obviously what's kind of what's going on. It's really moving to watch now. I can't imagine what it was like to watch 2-3 years ago when it was probably even more crazy. And that episode was directed by Barry Jenkins, who directed Moonlight, and Bill Streets Could Talk, who's a fantastic filmmaker. And it's just a really, really, really important show. I think the first season was, at least. I don't know what the other two seasons are. I've asked around a couple of friends to see if they've seen it, and they've said they've heard mixed reviews. And I really don't know what those mixed reviews could be. Honestly, it's one of those shows that I really, really have adored watching so far.
Like I'm a poli sci major, so anything I can watch that
Oh,
relates to current events is something I really want to dive into, because I feel like shows like that with those writers and those directors, they do such a good job of portraying what needs to be portrayed. I think it's kind of why even even for me, like the passing of Chadwick Boseman hit
mm,
me pretty hard, even though like I never even saw Black Panther. But for me, it was 42, which
mhm.
is a great movie. And to me, like Chadwick Boseman will always be like Jackie Robinson. And I think his passing, how it impacted a lot of people, especially in the African American community, kind of just made me feel the sort of empathy where it kind of hit me a little bit. And I've seen interviews with him on The Daily Show and all these different talk shows. And he was just, he almost was a living superhero. So I wanted to ask you, how did the passing of Chadwick Boseman affect you, if it did at all?
Yeah, likewise. In terms of you, I'm not a Marvel guy, so I've not seen Black Panther. I'm actually making my way through the Marvel movies on Disney Plus right now, and I'm right before Black Panther, like the one before it. I forgot which one it was. That's how much I don't care about them. Um, but to see how the Marvel community and the people who do enjoy that movie and those movies, really how Chadwick really affected them, is very moving to see and read about. Also, like you, 42, and the movie that he plays, Thurgood Marshall. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. Um, are some really, really interesting performances, because he's playing two very important African American figures in American history that are so opposite of one another. Thurgood Marshall is studious, and he's thoughtful, and he's not reserved in a way where he's not gonna outburst. Whereas Jackie was a little bit more hot headed, was a little bit more in your face, but in that sport you kind of needed that, you know. So for him to really capture those two experiences, really shows the range and talent of the guy. And then just all the interviews that you see with him, he seems genuine, down to earth. I really um, have a really big respect for celebrities like that who really can keep their privacy, and the fact that he kept his battle secret for 4 years, and that it wasn't something that defined him. That, like, hey, I'm battling cancer. Like, I'm just gonna go out and do my job because that's what I like to do. I mean, that's, you got to throw all the respect to him.
All right, let's transition to some of the more fun stuff. We didn't. This wasn't an official segment when we did it, but it just kind of sounded like it. So I just made a new segment on the top of my head called "Have You Seen?" Because during our first conversation, I feel like a lot of times we're talking to people about TV and movies. It's always, "Have you seen this? Oh, have you seen this?" So Bauer, I'm just gonna get the ball rolling.
Yeah,
I forget if you did see this when we first talked about it, or you said you were getting to it, but have you seen Dave on FX?
I have not yet, but that is probably in my top five to see. So it's getting there. The thing with FX is, like, all their shows are like must see. To get through the FX catalog is just like so hard. And um, Fargo, the new season of Fargo, season 4 is coming up on September 27th, and it's like I want to rewatch all 3 seasons of that again to get in the mood for that. So it's just like everything just keeps piling up. But that Dave, I still have yet to check out.
Fargo is my favorite show of all time. I've probably rewatched it so many times,
Are you excited for
but
the new season?
I'm very excited. Chris Rock, like it's I will say I definitely have a lot of high expectations. This is probably the highest expectations that I've had, just because season 3 was okay, but it wasn't as good as 1 and 2, and they've taken so much time off, and they're kind of going in a little bit of a different direction. But you have Chris Rock as your lead, so
Mm.
this is probably I hope I'm not setting too high expectations, but it's definitely the highest expectations that I've set for this show. Um, I know I'm going to enjoy it anyway because it's Fargo. It's brilliant. It's my favorite show of all time, and I'm beyond excited for it. I got my waffles ready. I got my maple syrup. I'm gonna run to Safeway, get some bison burgers, and we'll be ready for Fargo night.
We should do like a even if it's like a 10-15 minute like weekly Fargo catch up mini podcast episode once those episodes start airing.
Don't plant that seed in my head because it will happen. Because we're gonna have a sip talk segment called "You Betcha." That'll happen, and half of it will just be ASMR, me eating waffles and sipping coffee, going, "So you watched the episode last night? Oh, you betcha."
I'm definitely looking forward to hearing those.
Can't wait. I tell people, don't plant seeds in my head, because you plant a seed, I'm gonna water it. So
Good to
when
know.
so when I get a bunch of DMs being like, "Hey, what the hell was that? That was 20 minutes of you eating waffles and talking about Fargo." I mean, don't blame me. That was all Bauer's idea. Wasn't me.
All right, I got one for you.
All right.
Have you seen or have you heard of the show Deutschland 83?
No. It
No,
sounds German.
it is German. Are you a big into like spy espionage type of stuff?
And not really spy espionage. Well, let me rephrase that. I loved the show The Americans.
Okay, perfect.
Um, but
So
that's really been the only crack at a spy espionage show that I've liked. Maybe because I'm more of like a crime mystery type guy.
so Deutschland 83 is basically a German version of the Americans in the sense that it's about a German spy who is from East Germany and is tasked to spy on West Germany, and he befriends, you know, um, allied generals and colonels and all that stuff to try to get information. But of course, I like these guys, like I don't really want to spy on them. It is German, but the cool thing is it's a 3-season arc. So the second series is Deutschland 86, it takes place 3 years later. And then the final series is airing in October, Deutschland 89, and it covers the fall of the Berlin Wall. So I don't know if Cold War history was up your alley, but the first 2 seasons are really, really great spy espionage TV, and I'm really looking forward to 89.
Okay, I don't have to think of that because I do like my European shows, but mostly the Scandinavian ones.
Okay.
Um, so you've definitely heard my brother and I talk about Trapped, our
Oh yeah.
favorite Icelandic murder mystery. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch it. Season 2 is pretty good. Season 1 is probably the best season of TV I've ever seen. They're making a third season.
Are
Right
they?
now, I believe they're making a third season. Right now, there's currently a show in production in the Faroe Islands,
Oh,
which, as you know, I love my Faroe Islands.
of course.
I don't know if you could see my Havnar Botaflag Torshavn scarf hanging up right there, but that's my club. Um, and this one it's based off a book, because there's a Faroese author who wrote these really good like Scandinavian noir books, because something about the Faroe Islands, the small town, it's like a Fargo vibe, the small town crime, murder, and these books are wildly popular. And I think the most successful book is being turned into a TV show about the Faroe Islands are unfortunately known for their thousands of year old tradition of still killing pilot whales. Not like the big Japanese commercial, but there's a pod of whales in the fjord, and they kill the whales on the beaches. But either way, I've seen one before. Wasn't pretty. Love them though. Either way, so this
Shout out
show.
Faroe Islands.
Oh, shout out to the Faroes. It's my favorite place in the world. I'm not joking. Like, if you go there and like you see a whale getting killed, like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but like the people are the nicest people in the world, and it's a beautiful place. You know, that's my travel brochure. But back to what I was saying about this show that I'm super excited for. The body of a environmental activist washes up ashore during one of these whale killings.
Mm.
And that's all I know. That's all we know. I haven't read the book, so I don't want to spoil it, but a British environmental activist, probably from something like the Sea Shepherd or something, washes up ashore during one of these whale killings. And already I'm just like, this show needs to come out now. It almost didn't happen. They almost didn't have they almost ran out of money, but the Faroese government was just like, we need this show. This show's gonna make us, which I think it will, because people are going to see those fjords and being like, I like those fjords. Really excited for that. And then I'm going to dish the Have You Seen? Oh my God. I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's on Hulu. I'm blanking on it's a Danish show. It's not The Bridge. But it's called, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I blanked on it. I think the English translation is Underground.
I love me some good Scandinavian TV, so I'm
Yes.
with
Oh,
you.
excuse me. Below the Surface. That's right.
Below the Surface. I've not heard of it.
I believe it's on Hulu. It's called Below the Surface. The Danish translation is, and sorry to all our Danish listeners out there, Gidseltanginen. Jeez, that's a big word. Either way, it
A
is
for effort.
it is a hostage drama that takes place in the metro of Copenhagen. And I believe it's 10 episodes. It's a mini series, but it's called Below the Surface. It's in Danish, and it's really good. I watched it a few years ago. Highly recommend it.
I have something for you if you said you're into true crime. That's coming up on FX.
Hit me with it. Hit me with the Have You Seen It? Hit me with the Bauer.
Well, it's not a Have You Seen It because it's a new true crime series coming out.
Have you heard?
Have you,
Curveball.
have you heard of A Wilderness of Error? A Wilderness of Error, excuse me, A Wilderness of Error.
Wilderness of Air. And that's going to be on FX?
Yes, so it's the name of a book by Errol Morris, who's a famous documentarian. Let me read you the synopsis, and I know 100% you're going to be totally in, okay?
All right. Hit me with it.
The series examines the case of Jeffrey McDonald, an army surgeon who was accused of murdering his wife and 2 daughters on February 17, 1970. He was convicted of the crime on August 29, 1979, and has been in prison since 1982. However, McDonald might be innocent. That's all it says. Are you in?
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I walked through the bouncer, showed him my fake, and I'm like, no, I'm in. I'm in. God damn. FX, like, why is FX just so good at everything? Like, even the things that like don't get so much notoriety from FX that aren't like these like propped up shows are still really good. Like, have you seen Wilfred?
Yeah, of course.
That show's amazing. I've seen it 3 times, and each time I think I fully understand it, and then I'm just like, I'm still in a mind fuck after watching it. And I've seen the show 3 times, and it's genius, and I love it. And like the first time I watched it, I thought it was funny. Then the second time I watched it, I'm like, this is pretty deep. And the third time I watched it, I'm just like, I don't know what life is anymore.
I think what it is, and I have a theory, I don't know if this is 100% true, is with FX, and I would also say with HBO, is they do 2 or 3 things. One is that they put trust in their filmmakers and showrunners and say, this is your vision, you're going to do it. You know, they don't have to abide by network guidelines and all that stuff. You go do your thing, and they trust storytellers, which is important. And 2, they're particular about what stories they choose, as opposed to Netflix. Netflix is like, we're just going to throw everything at the table and hope 3 things stick. FX throws 8 things at the table and knows 5 things are going to stick.
Yeah. Netflix is definitely quantity over quality, I'd say, but that's kind of their whole equation. That's how they got so big, was like, we're just gonna make so much different random shit, but there's gonna be an audience of people who like it. Whereas FX, it's you kind of have to do that when you're on a cable network. But you're so right about them trusting their show writers. You look at a show like Dave. You look like at a show like Atlanta. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's a show like Atlanta is like, it takes a lot of trust for someone to trust Donald Glover's vision, because it's a vision that just has not been seen before, has not been seen on TV. That's why Atlanta's so good. It's so original. It's so unique. And you can't do that with other networks. Like, you can't have Atlanta on a CBS or a Fox, a regular Fox or an NBC or something, and you can't have an Atlanta on Netflix. Like, there's something just about that show that just fits perfectly on FX, because it's I think you put it perfectly. It's a trust thing,
Mm-hmm.
where after season 2 of Atlanta, they renewed Donald Glover for 2 more seasons.
Right.
My neighbor's dog is barking. Very cute,
The,
but
the dog the dog agrees.
yeah, I mean, that dog probably loves Atlanta. That dog's probably just like Teddy Perkins. Yeah, great episode.
The I do have a point about Netflix though, in terms of where its shortcomings are with the TV side. It's doing very important work on the movie side, where they're really doing that same mindset where they're putting money towards movies that don't get made anymore, which are those like mid-budget movies. Movies that come out in theaters now are over big budgeted or independent movies. Like that $50 million movie doesn't really get made anymore, and that's where kind of Netflix is coming in and filling the void. Where you see a movie like Marriage Story, or you see a movie called an upcoming movie called Mank, which is the new David Fincher movie, which is about Herman Mankiewicz and his battle with Orson Welles over the screenplay of Citizen Kane. And like that synopsis, like no studio is kind of making that right now, but Netflix is like, yeah, sure, we're going to put money towards this because they have the money and they want, and they're kind of looking for that prestige uh Academy Award type of thing. And they make so much money coming from the TV side because they put so much out that they can afford that. And so you have to give Netflix credit where credit is due, I think.
100% agree, and I totally agree with you that most of the movies are either big blockbuster or like some world renowned film that you're really going to hear of, that's going to be Oscar worthy. And that's the thing. Like, I like those type of mid budget movies. I like the really Oscar nominated stuff. I'm not really into the huge blockbuster in theaters. I'll watch them if they're on like Stars or FX during the middle of the day, but I don't know. That's not really me. But those are make the big money, and it's not because of the U.S. audience. It's because of the Chinese audience. Because Dwayne the Rock Johnson is the biggest movie star ever. Because his, I hate to say, almost laughable movies in the U.S., where it's just a clear money grab blockbuster, are huge in China. Because like, there's not really any hints of independent thinking or politics or stuff like that. It's just Dwayne the Rock Johnson fighting a giant wolf.
I mean, and Netflix owns the rom-com kind of arena right now. Like all the rom-coms you hear about are all on Netflix. I don't know how big of a rom-com guy you are, but you're not really seeing those in theaters.
Not a huge rom com guy. In terms of God, you know what? No, I'm not embarrassed to say it. In terms of like romance stuff, give me some trashy reality TV. Let me tell you. Um, yeah, I might as well bring this up now, because today I've been very, very invested in a story about the Pittsburgh Steelers signing quarterback Josh Dobbs. Now, why is this important? Well, Josh Dobbs was seen with Bachelor finalist Hannah Ann back in March. Now, back in May, Hannah Ann was seen with other Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph.
Ooh.
And anyone who's seen The Bachelor knows that Little Miss Perfect Hannah Ann can always stir up something, especially when it comes to two hot-headed QBs, especially Mason Rudolph. like there's something about The Bachelor I just can't resist. It's so bad. I shouldn't like it, but like it's just it's we all kind of have that low brow in us,
Right.
and The Bachelor is kind of where I dig into that low brow. Now, I have
Right.
some genius ideas for The Bachelor, but no one's coming to me for ideas. But I think that Disney can make even more money. Because here's the thing with The Bachelor. Disney, who owns ESPN, ABC, like Monday night's their big night because they have Monday Night Football and they have The Bachelor. So they have two demographics who are going to be, you're going to have mostly women watching The Bachelor, mostly men watching Monday Night Football. But because everything's kind of like streaming right now, you could get a lot more men watching The Bachelor, either instead of a bad Monday Night Football game between like Steelers and Jaguars, or and watch The Bachelor, watch it the next day on Hulu. So here's my idea.
Bring it.
Start having like realistic, like either one-on-one or group dates, because something I noticed with Pilot Pete last season, which by the way, he is a disgrace to all the Pete's out there, unbelievable, don't even get me started on him. But there's one-on-one date, and he's like, yeah, this one-on-one date's gonna be very casual. It's just gonna be like how I like to spend my weekends. And it's kind of be like what you'd expect if you're with me if we were married on my weekends. And he takes her like flying, doing flips, and then it's like, I just like to come here to chill. And they go like square dancing. And then after the day, the woman's like, I can totally see myself with him. Just, this is just like a casual weekend. And I'm like, your weekends are not going to be used square dancing. Let me tell you how your weekends are going to be. Because Disney's paying him that big bucks, he's going to have the nicest TV and the nicest sound system out of all of his friend groups. So your Sundays are going to be based around football because all his buddies are coming over to watch football. And he's got the red zone too because he's getting paid those big bucks. Okay? That's what your weekend's going to be. Your weekend's not going to be square dancing and lavish picnics. It's going to be Pilot Pete eating a plate of wings, hoping that the freaking Titans cover -6. So here's my idea. You have a group date at like Buffalo Wild Wings. Like if they're already sending the girls to Cleveland, they have no shame. So like comes out and it's just like, we're going to Buffalo Wild Wings. And then of course the ad, you're going to have the random person going, oh my God, I'm so excited. I love Buffalo Wild Wings. And so obvious that they're just, seeking a sponsor. And then you have them set like a daily fantasy lineup on DraftKings, and whoever has the highest score for their fantasy gets the one-on-one with Chad or Bryce, or the white guy they're propping up that season. Because that will get the men watching, because you're going to have like a scene where you hear the kind of shah, and the camera kind of pans away because a girl's about to run off crying, and a sticky Buffalo Wild Wings booth can be like, are you okay? And she's going to be like, no, my running back got hurt in the first quarter. No, I'm never going to get that one-on-one. Guys will watch that because you're going to have guys sitting on their recliner eating potato chips going, oh my God, tight ends clearly don't get the point percentage. You might as well kiss that rose goodbye now, Stephanie.
I hope ABC's listening right now.
They should be. Like, that's a genius idea. You would absolutely get more men watching The Bachelor if you snuck in things like that. Like they tried that during the Cleveland episode last season where they had him playing football, but like they focused more on the one girl playing, I can't play football because my back hurts. And I was like, no, you're just playing in the Brown Stadium. So, like sucking kind of runs naturally. But the problem is that like, I didn't even recognize the guy on the Browns that they propped out there. My theory was they were going to have Baker, but like Baker had a really bad start and a bad offseason that probably wouldn't have been a great look. But like, you can't just throw no-name Browns. No. You take him to Vegas, brand new Raiders arena. You throw out Derek Carr, and he's just going to be like, I'm just going to pass you 10-yard slants. Catch it, you get a one-on-one. And you're just going to have guys going, oh, does she have hands for that? You take him to a Vegas sports book, and you just have him start just betting on all these games. Whoever has the most money gets to spend it with their next one-on-one. And guys are going to be like, oh, did they seriously just take Duke -10? Obviously, Kansas is going to cover this game.
I mean, the only thing is I'm thinking about is that the changing sports world with COVID, it's just like, I don't know if what game, like where does it air in terms of what seasons are playing? You know what I'm saying? Like, is the NBA?
I didn't think that far. I mean, if you have COVID, you can't have 20 girls living in a house
No,
together. So
absolutely.
obviously, I'm not thinking about that. This is obviously going to be post-vaccine.
Okay.
How that?
I'm
Do you
just
know
trying
how
to get
gross
realistic
that would
here.
be with COVID? Do you just like Pilot Pete has his tongue down like every girl who said, "I kind of like you," and then he just leaned in.
I thought
No,
they were doing a new season.
that is I didn't even follow up with that. Like, how's that even going to work? Like,
Yeah,
it's disease infested in general. You have the one girl who's like 12 martinis deep, who's probably puking by the pool. The guy kisses every single girl he like has a little interaction with. And if it's someone like Pete again, oh my God, it's going to be
I
like, hey, I like your shoes. Oh my God, you're the one. And he's going to kiss them.
I did read that the Amazing Race is coming back. I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, that's like every episode is like them in crowds doing stuff. You know?
But it's going to make traveling so much more exciting because usually it's just like they took this flight with a layover in Hong Kong and then they're going to get to India while this one had a layover in Beijing. But now you're going to have the travel agencies being like, okay, so you have a layover in Copenhagen, then you have a
Yeah.
layover in Minsk, Belarus, then you're going to go back to Amsterdam, and then you're going to get to Cairo. And it's like, oh, that's the only 40 hours. That's the quickest one. And then you have someone stuck in freaking Serbia going, guys, I think we picked the wrong flight. Their trip was only 40 hours. Ours was 44. We're totally going to get detoured in Morocco.
Yeah. It's gonna make for must see TV. That's for sure.
Honestly, in terms of networks, one of the biggest news I saw was Comedy Central is they're not going to air Tosh.0. Like, they didn't cancel Tosh.0 because Viacom is currently shopping the series. I bet it's going to go to Hulu exclusively, but like Tosh.0 has been a pinnacle Comedy Central show. Obviously, South Park is cream of the crop Comedy Central, but Tosh.0 has been on for 12 seasons. And
Long time.
Comedy Central, like, when they said we're going to start being more animated oriented, they weren't kidding because Tosh.0 is not going to be there. Drunk History is not going to be there. I know you're definitely a big Drunk History guy because you're a freaking history buff. I'm shocked you haven't been on an episode yet. We could do Drunk History here. I'll get that to that later. But like, they're really heading towards like it's all animated. And right now that might be the move because like I think like shows like South Park, Family Guy, who've definitely dropped off a little bit the last few years, like this is their time to make a resurgence because like animated shows are like the only thing you can make right now.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen some productions resume, but I don't know if you read the Robert Pattinson Batman just got shut down again because he got COVID. So it's like those productions are stopping again. So it's really like animated is like the way to go, apparently. But the thing is like all these shows that like got and movies that got like postponed for the summer are all coming out now. So like from like to like the end of this month to the end of December is going to be nuts in terms of entertainment. I just texted a friend today, December 18th. You have 3 movies coming out: Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, Coming to America 2, and Dune. All 3 of those movies are huge blockbuster movies, all coming out on the same day. It's going to be nuts. All this new stuff coming out because it all got pushed back.
But do you think now there's going to be some sort of lull where you're just going to have a period where like nothing new is coming out, or is that kind of like the lull we have right now?
Yeah,
Because you can't start anything right now, so you think they're just going to speed a lot of stuff up when you can finally start filming, or are we going to see like a big gap in entertainment, say like next spring?
no, I think we witnessed the lull now, and I think there was so much slated for this summer that got pushed back and productions that got pushed back. I mean, I think Euphoria, speaking of, was supposed to come out I think it's a summer show that got pushed back, so it's going to come out next summer instead. You know what I mean? Like it was supposed to come out this summer, the second season for that. You have Marvel movies that got pushed back. You got Black Widow that was pushed back. So all this stuff, like from now until maybe spring of next year, it's going to be chock full of stuff. And same with shows. Were put on pause, but they're going to restart and filming that stuff again too. So I feel like we're really going to have a gold mine of stuff for the next year. It seems like, unless we get another outbreak.
I had a theory about Fargo getting pushed to end of September because they were in like post production,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was because it's supposed to come out in like March, and then they said we're delaying it, and then they said it's come out in September. I have a theory. I think they could have aired it in April, but FX already had Mrs. America,
Yeah.
so they thought, hey, what if Mrs. America is our big miniseries? Which, by the way, it was so good. Great miniseries.
Yep.
It got nominated for all these Emmys, and there's no other miniseries competition. So the FX is like, hey guys, we can just push Fargo to like the week after the Emmys. Mrs. America will sweep all the Emmys. Fargo starts up next Emmy season, clean sweep.
Well, that's the thing with the Oscar season. Oscar season got pushed back too now because of all of this, where I believe it was supposed to be the beginning of February, and maybe it got pushed back a month in terms of when the Oscars ceremony is going to happen, like the eligibility change. So the big one was that you would have to screen your movie in a theater in LA for it to be eligible. And I think this year they're taking streaming only options as well because of the pandemic. So probably next year's Emmys are going to be the same way. You're just going to have these whole host of shows that were aired between this window after nothing, and you're just going to have a bloodbath of nominees. I do have to point out, we have to get serious a little bit. Must-watch TV this fall is September 29th. That is the first presidential debate. And they're going to have 3 more, I believe, and 1 vice president one. And those are all going to be happening in October 7th, 15th, and 22nd. So mark those calendars, because that is going to be immensely, immensely important to what's going on.
I'm already planning some live reactions. I'm going to put it on Politics. We might have to record like right after the debate and do live reactions, because
it'd be fun to do a live one.
I'm under the boat that all Joe Biden has to do is just let Donald Trump talk, and then he'll talk for 2 minutes and say something outlandish, and then Biden just has to go, "Are you finished?" "No, I'm not finished." And then he just goes, "Are you done?" And just keep pushing him until he eventually says the N-word.
I don't know if this is a hot take, and I don't know if I'm going to be canceled because of this, but I'm going to say this.
That's a great way to start a segment on a podcast.
And I want to get your thoughts. I'm 100% voting for Biden this upcoming election season. But I've been going back and watching the past Republican debates from 2016, and it's kind of easy to see why Trump was elected.
Oh, absolutely.
And
that's not a hot take at all.
Okay, good. You're
not going to get canceled for that. No, absolutely
Perfect.
not. No.
Good.
Oh my God. It took me only a year to figure out how Trump got elected. Like, I still can't believe Trump got elected. How? And then Charlottesville happened, and I'm like, oh, that's how. Because white supremacy is still a thing.
And all that's going on, and all that is true. But if you just take their debate performances, every other Republican on the stage was your standard GOP, blah blah blah, boring personality, boring anything, and he just tore everyone to shreds.
Oh my God!
And
he made Jeb Bush and Rubio look like babies on that stage.
And you don't. I didn't agree with all what he was saying or arguing, and I don't agree with his tactics at all, making it really personal. But like watching it, you really could see how someone could just get behind a person like that. And yeah, that guy is attacking politicians I don't like. I'm going to vote for that guy. And it's kind of scary that not that alone, but that was an important part of why people voted for him, and not because of the actual words coming out of his mouth. I mean, there were so many examples where Rubio or Ted Cruz, who I would never want as president, would ask Trump about policies, and Trump would just make fun of both those candidates. And it's awful politics, but it's amazing TV.
Yeah, but it works. And the secret is that American voters don't know anything about policy. So it's very easy. But let's stop this here because I want to save it for some politics.
Right. Sorry.
But that's all good. But no, I 100% agree. Honestly, I feel kind of let down. You said you might get canceled for saying something, and I was ready. I was on the edge of my seat. I was ready to end the recording on the spot, but no, you just gave very good political analysis.
The internet
Wish
is
this wasn't a
thing.
movie review. Wish it was sipped on. I know the millions of listeners we get. We're gonna be trending on Twitter, Alex Bauer, after this. So I'd be terrified.
I'll end this on another hot take.
Go for it.
So I risked it all, and I went to see Tenet at a movie theater on Friday.
How was it?
Christopher Nolan, you need help, because that was not good.
Really?
It wasn't. Now,
was it like, did it not live? Because I had a lot of high expectations. Did it not live up to expectations, or is it just not a good movie?
Chris Nolan, I'm talking to you directly if you're listening.
He absolutely is. I get DMs from him all the time being like, hey, when's Bauer coming back on?
Please do not write any of your scripts anymore. You're a horrible screenwriter. And it doesn't take an idiot to see that. All you got to do is watch Tenet, and it's the guy cannot write dialogue. The guy cannot write characters. The guy, he can't write humor. There was no humor in any of that movie. I can't connect to any of these characters because they don't feel like characters. They feel like robots saying plot points. That's all the movie was. Now I'll say this, Chris Nolan, stick to directing action, because the action sequences were mind-blowingly amazing, and I would see it again just so I can watch the action sequences, because a lot of it is practical effects, a lot of it is awesome cinematography, and the way he places and moves the cameras is awesome. But his characters are god awful, and 2 hours and 50 minutes or however long it was with those characters was just as bad as watching Trump on stage.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Well, I mean, I got to end the podcast right here because my studio, aka my apartment, is on fire because of that hot take. Jesus Christ. I'm going to call maintenance. Bauer, thanks for coming on, and love to have you back. I'm Pete Sippis. This is Sip Talk. Thanks for listening.